Hello. Let me speak to you today about medical education project management, a topic that I like very much. And this will be a very short video, so do try to concentrate and please post your questions in the comment section under the video. So the first thing, I'm Samar Ahmed. I'm the Vice Dean for Community Affairs at Delta University, and I'm happy to be with you. What are educational projects? Well, this is a question that we need to answer. The first thing you need to know is that projects do not necessarily mean building a bridge. Actually, a project is as small as any task that you want to do. For example, any group of tasks are considered a project. Any group of tasks that have an outcome. So planning a lecture is a project, executing a visual is a project, whatever you want to do is a project. How do we plan the educational project? That's easy. Number one, you have to identify a problem. Identifying a problem, we do this by the conventional methods. For example, what we need to do is a situation analysis, and situation analysis are done by a number of methods. One of them is the SWOT analysis, and you all know how to map the situation to make an analysis based on what are the strengths of the system, what are the weaknesses of the system, what are the opportunities, what are the threats that exist for the institution. This is one way to do it, but there's another way. When we try to concentrate on the positives and we do what we call SOAR analysis. So the SOAR framework is a little bit different. It works where you identify the strengths, you imagine the opportunities, you try to innovate and make an aspiration and map the aspirations. And then at the end, you try to inspire yourself through the results or the anticipated results. These are the 4 quadrants or the 4 areas that we map in the SOAR analysis. So as you can see, the difference between both is that we approach the situation as a problem when in the SWOT analysis, but when it comes to SOAR, the sky is our limit. We think more of the opportunities and the positives. We do not think of the existing gap. Well, the first thing to identify is the scope of your project. What is the scope of the project? And the scope is actually the area that we want to work in. And this is identified through the situation analysis. It's a priority, the situation analysis. Then out of the scope, we try to generate what we call objectives. And the objectives are SMART. So what's a SMART objective? A SMART objective is something like this one that you can see. It's raising the capacity of 20% of faculty regarding educational project management by the end of the project lifetime. You can see it is time bound. You can see it's very specific. It says 20%. It is measurable because you can always measure 20% of faculty. And it is, we said it's time bound, okay? Specific, measurable, attainable, something that you can achieve. Realistic. It's not, we didn't say, for example, that we will raise the capacity of all faculty. That would not have been realistic. And then it is time bound. Good. As you can see, a good area to start working and to start identifying is the outputs and the activities. So you see, what you can see on the screen now is what we call the what do we call it? Logical framework matrix. So a logical framework matrix is what you can see on the screen. We will speak a little bit more about this in a minute. But we want to identify the difference between what's an input, what's an output, what's an outcome, what's an impact. An input is anything you invest in the project, be it time, be it effort, be it money, that's an input. An output are things, tangible things that come out of the project. For example, a bridge, for example, a room, for example, a program, that's an output. Outcome is something that will change in someone based on your project. Something that will change in someone. Someone will change and something will change in this someone. So it becomes an outcome. And the impact is something that is a little bit remote. It is the effect of everything you are doing on the community, on your institution, on a number of levels. So we have input, output, outcome, and impact. Input, output, outcome, and impact. These are four terms that are usually misidentified together. But take care, you're not working on this project alone. There are so many people that will help you or stand in front of you or oppose you. These are called stakeholders. And in order to be able to perform your project, you have to make sure that you have mapped these stakeholders and know them very well. How do we map them? Well, we map them according to two important factors: how interested they are and how influential they are. So a stakeholder could be either high influence or low influence. A stakeholder could also be high interest or low interest. And you can see, if I have a low interest, low influence stakeholder, I will put them in this area. If I have a high interest, high impact stakeholder, I will put them in this area, and so on. And this is a 2x2 quadrant or a 3x3 quadrant mapping of stakeholders. Why do we do this? Because you see, there are many issues that affect stakeholders and how help them affect my project. And based on the influence of the stakeholder, I can guess and understand if they are influential or not. They might be unknown, I don't know. They might be little influence, moderate influence, significant influence. Based on that, I try as much as I can to map my stakeholders based on that. As you can see, this is another way of mapping the stakeholders. Whatever you choose to do, even if you choose to do it like this one, as you can see, based on priority, based on involvement, these 2x2, I have two axes and I map my stakeholders based on that. These are different ways of mapping your stakeholders. The net result is I want to know how to communicate with these stakeholders. So if these stakeholders are low in involvement, they're low in priority, they're not really important to me, I'll just keep them informed. And this is what we call stakeholder communication plan. So I need to have a stakeholder communication plan in place. Take care. You need to empower your people because you have now mapped your stakeholders. You know who is going to work with you in the project. Make sure to empower them. Don't just give them tasks and leave them be in their community. Otherwise, they will not be able to perform. They need to be empowered. So you have to understand the power matrix of the organization. You have to understand what is in it for each of these stakeholder groups so that you really know how to make things work in your institution. And you understand the degree of support that each of your stakeholder groups has. Very important to understand that. So I have people who are above, they are in the level or under the level of support. So people might support you, they might oppose you, they might be indifferent towards your project. These are two different ways of identifying your stakeholder groups also and mapping them. After you've done that, you have all your tasks, you know your tasks, you now need to put a timeline, otherwise you will not perform. So you need a timeline. How do I do that? Well, I map all my tasks. I say, this is what I need to do, cut them down into very, very small tasks, see how long each task will take, and then put them in sequence. You start from the end all the way to the beginning to where you are. Maybe this will make you rethink the amount of work that you need to do. It will maybe make you rethink that you just might need to add people to your team because it won't work. So this is a way to map your timeline. But how do you execute the timeline? Well, I could have this, and this is called a Gantt chart. The beauty of a Gantt chart is that a Gantt chart gives me a little bit of relationship between tasks. So you see, this is a task that will take a few days, And this is another task that will take a little bit longer. So you can see this task is pretty much bigger than this one. But take care, there is a relationship between this task and this task. We call it end to beginning. So this is a task that cannot start before this task is ended. So the Gantt chart shows you this kinds of relationship. And based on these relationships, you understand where are the tasks that if there is a delay in them, the whole timeline will be skewed or shifted. And this is what we call critical path. So again, what's the beauty of the Gantt chart? It shows you relationships between the tasks. And after it does that, it shows you how and just how this project can be skewed or how to keep the project on time, I'm sorry. This is one way to do it. Another way would be a timeline. We don't care. This is just one way to map your timeline. The second thing is a budget, or the next thing, I mean, is a budget. You do budgeting, but it's very hard for us as academicians to do that. But you have to understand that the budget is either monetary, it's actual money that you put in, and in-kind contribution. So an in-kind contribution would be effort that you put, time that you put, manpower that you put into the project, maybe infrastructure. It's all called in-kind contribution. Take care, time is money. Take care, effort is money. And take care, time is very valuable. Take care also to map your outcomes before you start. And we said before, what's an outcome? It's something that will change. Someone will change. So someone will change and something will change in that someone. Remember that? So who will change? This is a good question. Is it your students? Is it your faculty? Is it your administration? Who will change? And what will change? You also have to map what will change. So to understand an outcome, you have to say, students will change in this way. That's called an outcome. After you've done that, you have to map it in a tree. Say, if I do this, this outcome will happen. If this outcome happens, another outcome will happen. What do we call this? We call it an outcome chain or an outcome tree. This is also something that I will be helping you produce in future videos. Don't ever start your project without creating your evaluation plan. If you start your project without an evaluation plan, you will never know if you have achieved or not. So in order to do that evaluation plan, you say, did we do what we said we will do? That's a question. How do we know we did it well? And this is what we call evaluation questions. So what's an evaluation question? An evaluation question will either ask, did the task happen? Was the outcome achieved? So you have to know all the tasks and then ask, did they happen? Another thing, you have to know all the outcomes and then ask, were they achieved? These are called evaluation questions. But in order to know whether or not I have achieved, I have to set myself indicators, because an indicator is the only thing that will tell me that I have achieved well. So what's an indicator? It is the perfect answer for your evaluation question. It is the answer that you're hoping for when you ask the evaluation question. The answer that will make me happy. An indicator is really very timed. It is specific, and you put it in advance. After you've set your indicators, it's really very easy to compare and understand whether or not you have achieved them. So you either achieve the indicator or do not achieve the indicator. This means that you have to go back and replan and redefine where you have gone wrong. This is, in short, how to manage projects, educational projects. I hope this was easy for you. I hope I didn't take too much time, and hopefully this video will be of use to you. In future videos, I will be speaking about individual aspects of this in more elaborate details. Thank you so much, and I will hear more of your questions in the comment section. Thank you.